Hey, how's it going? Hey, happy Sunday. I don't think I probably said that before, but happy Sunday. How's it going? Oh my goodness. So yeah, kind of surprise stream. A lot going on. A lot going on. And I figured, you know what? I'm just gonna hop on the stream. I just totally fixed my network. So if you haven't been tracking a lot going on in my network, I'll talk about it here in a little bit, and I'll show you, I guess, a couple of things that I figured out of what's going on. But anyways, happy Sunday. I'm sorry I didn't make it here yesterday. So yesterday was Saturday here in the US. It's Sunday now. I couldn't make it because about 30 minutes before I started the stream, all heck broke loose. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. Dude, PC Geek, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Which reminds me, I need to open up something else. I was in such a rush to join the stream that I didn't open a couple things. Give me 20 seconds. There we go. Yeah, not used to this Sunday. It's kind of throwing me off. But anyways, happy Sunday. What are you guys working on? What can I help with? Like I said, I was working on a couple of things on my network, and I thought, well, I'll get into it here in a second. Let me call out a couple of things that happened just before the stream, just so I don't have to like bounce back and forth. First of all, yeah, appreciate you. Dude, thank you so much. Thank you for the bits. Appreciate it. I should turn that down if that's not too loud. Hopefully that's not too loud in your ears. It is this one. I don't know what I'm doing today, but anyways, so yeah, I'm a little bit off kilter right now. I decided about 8 minutes ago that I was going to go live because I fixed something, and I was just like, you know what? There's nothing like testing a fix and to just do it in production. So this stream is my test in production. I think everything's fixed and working, but I'll get into it here in a second. But real quick, I'll just call out follows and subs. Man, thank you so much. Hype Train and the intro. Thank you. So let's see. I'll start from the bottom. Looks like Strinku, thanks for the follow. Manil, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. GK Sems, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Oh, they're still rolling it. Lacerated Digits, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Hope your digits are okay. Piece of Geek, dude, thanks for the tier 1, 13 months, 1 year, 1 month. Dude, thank you so much, appreciate it. Yo, what's up, Tim? What's up, Piece of Geek? How's it going, man? Piece of Geek, dude, thanks for the bits too, appreciate it. Ilude, how's it going? Tier 1, 13 months. You guys are tied. Thank you so much, both you, Piece of Geek and Ilude. Thank you, Ilude, for all that you do. If you guys don't know, they're both mods, and they keep me in order in our Discord server along with everyone else. And it's not all just moderation. It's tons of help, tons of contributions to the community, helping people, pointing them in the right direction, and helping to fix anything that's going wrong, and even just offering general content, things that they figure out, things that they want to share that help everyone. So I appreciate it, really appreciate it. Mr. Jobot, hey, thanks for the cheer, 100 bits. A bit more fuel for the hype train. Thank you, appreciate it. Piece of Geek, let's get this train out of the station. I didn't read those comments. Thanks, dude, appreciate it. Felix and TJ Geek, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome. So yeah, what are you guys working on? What can I help with? Today's, like I said, is a little bit different. I usually do 3 o'clock on Saturdays, and that was going to happen until what happened yesterday. Dude, hype train, thank you so much. Thank you. Let me share this. Yeah, share, go. Oh, new emote, thank you. I appreciate it. Man, Twitch, get out of here. So anyways, like I was saying, yesterday, about 2:30, I was getting ready for the stream. I was doing some maintenance on a lot of things here in my network, and a lot of devices. I patched devices, I patched Proxmox, and I was just rolling restart everything. And I was like, you know what? For the last month and a half, my UDM Pro switch, the LCD screen on it was frozen. So if you don't know, UDM Pros and UniFi Switch Pros, a lot of their UniFi gear have these mini touchable LCD screens on them that show you some status. It's not super helpful. It looks cool, but where it is helpful is if you want to do augmented reality. So to do augmented reality, you put it in AR mode, and it'll show you a QR code, and then you scan it, and then you can see what devices are connected. And I usually do that more than refer to a spreadsheet that's somewhere in Google Docs because I'm down there with my mobile device. So I was like, you know what? This screen's been frozen for a month and a half. I'm rebooting and patching everything. Let's just reboot it. And because it's happened before. And then I was thinking, I don't want this screen to get burned in, whatever. So I rebooted, all heck broke loose. Like all of a sudden, nothing worked. Nothing at all. I mean, nothing. I couldn't ping anything, couldn't do anything. So I ended up getting into my UDM Pro, kind of looking around. I noticed that my switch, it couldn't adopt my switch for whatever reason. Couldn't adopt it. And I was like, force adoption, force adoption, force adoption. And the new UI kind of hides it from you. You know, they really dumb it down in the new UI. It just says pending adoption. And so I switched back to the old UI and I see the failures. It's saying failure, failure, failure. And it keeps getting this weird IP address. This weird IP address. I say weird. It's 192.168.1.1. It's probably the most common IP address in the world. But to me, it's weird because I don't have that subnet. I don't have a VLAN with that subnet or that network. So I'm like, what's going on with this? So I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll you know what? I'll just reboot again. Didn't help. Then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just flash firmware, I'll roll back. So roll back to a previous backup. Didn't flash firmware yet. None of that worked. Okay, I'll flash firmware. I'll put in recovery mode. I'll flash both with the current firmware that they have, then apply the settings, nothing. And meanwhile, this is all taking, this is like a 20, 30 minute process each time I do this. You know, it's not just like click a button. So it keeps happening. And then finally I get to a point where I can adopt the switch. This was like many hours later. I can't adopt the switch. But then I thought everything was fixed and I came up here and I was going to go live. It was about probably about 5:30. And I was like, I'm just going to do it live, do it late. And I get up here and wireless is working, but wired isn't working. It's just weird. Well, I still would have went live, but my OBS assets are actually in my documents, which are redirected over the network. So everything you see on here is redirected over the network, all these elements and my transitions and stuff like that. So I had just a plain old OBS that was hanging. So anyways, so then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'll try this one more time. Then I totally went rogue. I was like, okay, I'm doing latest beta pre-release firmware. Give me all the stuff that I usually hesitate to grab. And then I applied it all and I thought it worked. And I was like, this is great. Except for all of my cameras now I couldn't adopt. They were assigned to an old UDM Pro, which didn't exist anymore. And if you ever do this and you have UniFi cameras, there's this section in there that has a password for you to adopt your cameras if your UniFi Pro ever gets reset. Copy that, put it somewhere, save it now, because if not, you're going to do what I did. So I had to go through and hard reset all of my cameras, one of which I just did 10 minutes ago because it's like up high, couldn't get to it. You need this special key to get in to get it off the little mount. And finally reset all the cameras. Like, this is great. Well, about 11 o'clock last night, started happening again. This time, instead of wired devices, it was wireless devices. And so no devices could get IP addresses. Nothing at all. And it looked like to me like DHCP wasn't working for non-static devices. That's as close as I could get. The weird thing is I could ping things that were on the same VLAN. I could ping things that were on other VLANs. But I couldn't do any DNS resolution, no TCP. It was just basically ICMP, which was working, which I thought was super odd. So I went to bed and I'm like, I have no idea. I was like, okay, what are my options? Like, try this all again, like the definition of sanity, keep trying the same thing and expect a different result. Or I reset all of my devices back to default and rebuild my whole entire configuration. I thought, there's no way. I'll spend another day or two trying to recover this to try to get my network back to where it was, rather than try to remember, all these configurations that I had. I should totally a side note, I should totally use something like Terraform or some kind of infrastructure management system to download my configurations so that I can apply them outside of UniFi. Note to self, I should probably do that. But I did download all of my config for my switch and my UniFi. Now, after the fact, I was kind of relying on their backups to actually kind of work, which it was just restoring to some weird state. Anyways, so this morning I get up and I'm like, I'm totally gonna fix this. I'm gonna figure it out. Like, this happens. Things happen, and I just figured it out, and I just moved forward. Well, it was not happening and not moving forward. And so I actually opened a support ticket with UDM, with UniFi. I thought, I'm down in the dumps. Like, what am I going to do now? And I opened a ticket with them and I got a real generic response. Please send screenshots. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like I documented everything for you and handed it to you guys. Like I know it was probably missing some spots, but anyways. So then I responded with screenshots, my support information, compressed logs, like everything. And I'm like, this is not going to go anywhere. A couple hours go by. I'm like, okay, I'm on my own. Like I get it. They're busy. And they don't understand that to me, it's super critical, but I'm, a person of one in a home. So anyway, and I don't have any kind of support contract or anything like that. Anyways, so I started like digging, and I found, I started finding some old posts about people not being able to get DHCP addresses. And that kind of piqued my interest because that's what I felt like was going on. Like this bug like manifests itself in so many different ways. It had me going down so many different paths that I didn't even know where to begin. So I was like, okay, I'll chase this one down and go down this rabbit hole. And it was people on this beta pre-release firmware that's not even out yet that they actually had to retract. It's not even available anymore to download because people were having odd issues, and the symptoms were can't adopt switches, can't provision any of your cameras. They think they're on a new UniFi switch. One other symptom I saw was that my mobile device kept thinking I had a brand new UniFi all the time. It kept saying, hey, we found a new UniFi device. Do you want to adopt it? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, this thing is fully configured. Does that every time I open the app, doesn't do it anymore. And then there were other symptoms like, can't get IP addresses, can't communicate across networks, switch ports aren't configurable. And I was like, this sounds exactly like what I have going on, except for I don't have this version of firmware. Like I'm on a stable one. Truth be told, I did end up upgrading to a non-stable one like later on to try to fix this issue, but I had this issue before. Anyways, I'm probably babbling, and I'll definitely get to comments and stuff. But it ended up being something that I've experienced before, and I experienced this last night. So last night I hopped on Discord voice chat. I was like, hey, I'm in voice chat. If anyone wants to hang out, just chatting with Manny and Geeky Rand, and I was like, we were just talking about other things, but I couldn't get into Discord voice. And I remembered, I was like, well, Manny reminded me too, but I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, on UniFi, if you have country blocking turned on, and I don't block countries just because, I block countries where I see a large amount of security vulnerabilities or attempted intrusion detections. And I've since turned it off because it doesn't even really matter anyways. I mean, most of the bad ones, if they want to get you, are going to come through some VPN in your country anyway. So anyways, long story short, I turned that off and I'm like, oh, sweet, I can get into voice. Like, no problem. Discord's working. That ended up being almost the same problem, this bug that's there. So I don't know what the root cause is, but it turns out if you have geofiltering on, and you have network threat scanning turned on, which goes through and queries all your devices on the network and, sees what ports they have open, basically internal network threat scanning. And then the honeypot service where, it's listening on a specific port and waiting for it to be queried by other devices. If you have a combination of those three things on in the latest firmware, you're going to be hosed. You're going to be hosed. And so I don't know if the root cause is actually those three services together, or if they're using so much CPU and RAM that the network application itself keeps rebooting itself. So I looked at the logs, looked at the debug logs, super interesting stuff. Most of it, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on here. It's all developer logs written for them. And it's thousands and thousands of lines long, especially if you turn on debug. But that's what it ended up being, is just disabling three services. That worked for the last 3 months, like no problem. I mean, I've had these turned on ever since I got my UDM Pro and thought it was, and I've had them turned on ever since I got my UDM Pro and heard that they were a thing. And I was like, yeah, I want that. Why wouldn't I want that? And it turns out like somewhere along the line, they must have upgraded the versions or something with my config to where it doesn't like that anymore. And the weird part is it didn't manifest itself at all until I rebooted everything. So I was chasing down like all of these things. Like I thought, oh man, it's firmware. Like one time I actually had corruption in my database because the power went out and the MongoDB or whatever in there was corrupted, and I restored it. I thought for some reason, I thought for sure, I was like, my backup, that corruption has been duplicated and backed up for months now. Like this is what's going on. I know this is it. I know I'm going to have to start all over. And it ended up not being that. It's super weird. I don't know. I mean, I could kind of show you, well, I can't really show you what's going on anymore. I hid my IP address. If you see it, don't hack me. I'll try not to show it. I can't really show you what's going on anymore, but the symptoms are, this is all internal stuff, no secrets. Okay. The internal, I'll even make this bigger. The way it manifests itself is this PoE switch right here. It says update available, even though there's not an update available. You can't see it because my screen's on top of it. This thing could not be adopted no matter what. And then on top of that, it was getting assigned an IP address that wasn't even in my network. Super weird, super weird. And it's such a pain in the butt. And actually, I'm now on a pre-release version of UDM Pro. I should go back to stable and disable all that stuff because even their stable's not stable. And oddly enough, this is like the first time I've suffered from one of these bugs that are like super critical, that like kind of are a pain to track down. And I know that a lot of people run into this kind of things. Mine's been super, super stable for a long time. I've had zero problems. Like it's all just worked until today. So yeah, it's such a pain to track down. But anyways, long story short, hey, thank you. Seagoer, how's it going? Any plans for Rancher 2.6 update? I tried repeating your Minecraft and Pi-hole guides, and I can't seem to come across the web interface. Great. Keep up the great work. Seagoer, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Dude, thank you so much. The resub. Tier 1. Hey, Kai Devron. Hey, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Tier 1, thank you so much. To answer your question, Seagoer, yeah, I am. I do plan on doing something. Right now, so Rancher 2.6 is available for people to download, but it's on their latest branch. And so they have a release scheme where they will eventually move that to stable. I'm kind of waiting for it to move to stable before I do it, just because it's what most people are going to get if they're on the stable branch. It's what most people are going to get if they do a Helm install with stable. I know people like latest, totally fine, but as you see from bugs, they can slip into products, so I kind of want to wait until it's stable. I mean, I went early on Portainer too, and in the attempt to try to line it up with their release, and they changed so many things. Like the day after that, I was like, I'm not doing that again. Anyways, long story short, yep, I'll have some Rancher 2.6 content for sure. Whether or not I'll repeat what I did in the past or do something new is TBD. But yeah, totally gonna have it. Like I said, waiting till stable for sure, because those bugs in general and everything are just kind of hard to track down. And plus, like, once it's in stable, I mean, most of their API air quotes contracts should be pretty solidified. They should be on latest too. I doubt they're going to break anything going from latest stable, but who knows. But yeah, anyways, long story short, I think my UniFi woes are solved. The sad part is that I did have to reset almost every one of my devices except for my I had to reset my switch, but luckily I was able to restore the config. And I had to reset almost every single device in my network, especially cameras, because they will not adopt to a new UDM Pro or to protect, basically, unless you have this old password. So anyways, long story short, if you're using UniFi cameras, go into your camera and protect. There's a little section where you've never set it up that has a password assigned to it. Save that password somewhere, because if you ever reset your UniFi Pro, you will not be able to adopt those cameras without supplying that password unless you hard reset them. And that's an attempt, I think, for people not to steal the devices, but it doesn't make any sense because, like, you could just hard reset it. So anyways, that was their reasoning why they have this thing in place. Probably for rogue, you set up rogue, UDM Pros on someone's networks and just adopt all those cameras, and then you'd be in big trouble too. So I get why it's there, but it's never, those types of things you don't know you need until you need them. So anyways, yeah, lots, sorry, I didn't mean to babble, but it's totally fresh in my mind. I just wanted to kind of get it out there. I know not a lot of people use UniFi devices, and totally fine. I just kind of wanted to share. I would say vent, but because that's what it kind of seems like I'm doing. But I just want to share my findings and also go live today because I totally missed it yesterday. Like I said, I was like running around. I kept telling my wife, like, I think I have it fixed. I think I can go live. And she's like, okay, do it. And I come in here and it's like, Wi-Fi works, but, wired doesn't. And I'm like, I can't do it now. And then I thought I fixed it again. I was like, I think I can do it. And she's like, do it. And, it was just this over and over and over. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming out. So let me see. There are lots of comments, so I appreciate it. And feel free if you guys have something that's just a question for me. I'd love to chat about something else and get UniFi off the mind. Like I said, it's been rock solid for me up until now. This is the first time I've ever had like a serious critical bug to where my network was down. Like my network was down almost 24 hours from now. It was like zombie network. Wired worked, then wireless didn't work. And then wireless worked, then wired didn't work. And then some machines, worked if they had a static IP. New machines that were DHCP that were trying to get an IP address wouldn't get one. Cameras offline because they were DHCP and they were connected to wireless. So super weird, super crazy bug. I couldn't imagine trying to write some network utility like that they have going on. So but at the same time, that sucks. There's no other good way to say it. So let's see the comments. Yo, surprise! What's up, Tim? What's up, PC Geek? How's it going? Manny, hey everyone. Synced. That's what I'm going with. Hey, how's it going? Hey everyone. Stream hype. Yeah. How are you guys doing today? I blame Takano. He probably threw a monkey wrench into your network. Yeah, I wish. And I know that, a few people had mentioned maybe it's DNS. I was really hoping it was DNS. DNS would have been easy to fix. Go to Pi-hole, figure it out. If not, restore it. I have 3 DNS servers, take one out of the loop. That stuff all, software-based stuff I can figure out. Network troubleshooting I can figure out. When it comes to like some closed device that, has some firmware on it that, I don't understand the logs or what to do, it gets tough. Hey, Jinx Master. Hey, thanks for the resub. Tier 1, 2 months. Thank you so much. Thanks. Appreciate it. PC Geek, I know he's not here yet, but it was probably him. Yeah, we'll blame Takano till he shows up. If he does. Jet Games, old remains of the grow room still there messing with stuff. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, the grow room stuff. It's not a grow room. I'm gonna go with it though. Yeah, some lasting effects in that grow room are still affecting my network. No, it's well, no, not that, because I actually think I have it fixed now. If the stream goes offline or things go weird, that's what's going on. But I wish it was. Mr. Jobot has subscribed tier 1. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's see, PC Geek Bits, thank you. Ilud, hi all. Physical switches, turn on and off VMs. Physical switches to turn on and off VMs. Oh, that's what you're working on. Interesting. Yeah, I like it. That's actually super handy. Because every now and then I have one machine, a virtual machine that I need to turn off, and then I have to go into Proxmox and do it. Not like it's that hard. But I wish I had an app where I could just, click and do it. I could build one totally against the Proxmox API. But sometimes I just need to recycle some or one rather than the whole thing. So I like it. Physical switches. So I assume I like it. I assume you're going to be using Proxmox API to do this. And when you press that button, it's just passing in like a shutdown command and an ID, or maybe not using the Proxmox VM at all. Maybe it's Ansible and doing it that way. Curious to know. PC Geek, my wife and I just cleaned off the RV roof. It was yucky. Yeah, man. Yeah, getting ready for winter. Winterizing the thing. That's awesome, man. I mean, it's I enjoy fall. It's my favorite season of all. I enjoy winter, not as much as fall, but man, it's getting close. We're super lucky on this weather, at least in Minnesota. This weather has been incredible. I mean, we're hanging in the 70s, lows of 50s. This is weird but awesome, and it's super dry too. I love it. I love it when it stays dry in fall. As soon as it rains, it's like all the leaves just come down all at once. I'd rather have a slow trickle on the leaves I can keep up. If it's rainy and windy, that's when it's going to be kind of getting gross. But Working on setting up some WordPress. Nice, man. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, WordPress. I think you're setting up a WordPress site. Yeah, it's super fun. It can be painful depending on how far you go and what plugins you do. But I think we talked about this. But there's some good guides up there for setting it up securely. Just make sure you follow one. My only takeaways are make sure strong passwords, two-factor auth, maybe WordPress auth, correct folder permissions and file permissions on that server that's running. Plugins, bare minimum, only ones you really need, and then generate static files if you can, because and then you should be pretty good as far as security and performance. I'm sure there's a ton of other stuff. Oh, and then database too. Make sure you generate long crazy database password with salt too. That's also crazy, crazy long. Jag Games, also wishing it was Sunday for me still. Nice. So you must be real far away then if it's not Sunday for you. Oh, hopefully it's going well. This is a Monday. This is a late Monday or early Monday for you then, I assume. Pizza Geek, we had a nice seafood dinner for lunch. All right, dinner for lunch. All right, that sounds awesome. For one, seafood, yeah, that sounds great. And then having a dinner for lunch, I'd go for that. Jag Games, fishing tips or something fancy? Curious too. I either way. Mr. Jobot, I've been playing with AWS DevOps pipelines using Terraform and code build to deploy containers to Fargate. Nice, man, that sounds pretty awesome. So AWS DevOps pipelines, haven't played with that at all. Sounds cool. Using Terraform, sweet, and code build to deploy containers to Fargate. I haven't even used Fargate. These are all technologies I've heard of, but haven't really used it all. So it sounds like you got quite a bit to learn, either that or you know it and you're just cruising along. Pizza Geek, Frying Haddock. So, yep. Oh, yeah. I go for that right now, for sure. Felix, hello. How's it going? Tora Kamada. Got the email notification you're streaming, and I thought it was Saturday. No, it's Sunday. LOL. I couldn't make it Saturday either, so this is a welcome surprise. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, it was totally... I didn't even tell. I told the mods like 2 minutes before. I was like, hey, like no pressure at all, but I'm going to go live in like 2 minutes. I was just so pumped. I was like trying to organize everything I need to do in my head. I'm like, okay, I would like to work out. I need to do the yard. I want to stream. I think the network's going. All cameras are up. And I was just like ordering them all. And I'm like, stream, workout, yard, and then I should be good. But we'll see. We'll see. Might skip the workout. We'll see. But glad you're here. Cyborgium. I was looking into getting a new NAS as I'd like to have my storage separated from the services. Have any tips on getting good storage chassis in Europe? Pretty much like the good deals on eBay are only available in the USA. Yeah. Let me grab a drink. That's tough. That's tough because I don't even technically have a storage chassis per se. I mean, I have a disk shelf which connects to a SAS expander to another machine. I'm kind of I've been in this boat too of should I go with a dedicated server for my storage, or should I keep using my disk shelf? I'm like 50-50 now. That's tough. I mean, I've looked at a couple. So the ones that I'm aware of and know about, I mean, Supermicro has a lot of 6, 12, even 24 bay drives. They're gonna be pricey, right? Because you're gonna get them mostly new, unless you can find them used. There are other ones that a lot of folks in here use. I think the Dell 6-ish. I forget how many drives it has. Pretty decent. And then lately I've even been looking at the Asus Store ones. Those are pretty interesting, hard to come by, not a lot of information on them. Look pretty cool. They have 12 bay drives, lower end processor, lower end Xeon, but that's really all you need for storage anyways, and then expansion slots and whatnot. But I mean, it really depends. You going new or used? And then how many bays do you want? That's really what it boils down to. I mean, all of the Dell ones are going to be super nice, but it depends. Do you want an older platform or newer platform? If you want a newer platform, then you have to start looking in. They're going to be more spendy, but you're going to have to start looking at. I mean, it opens the doors to other things like an Asus Store or something like Supermicro. But yeah, I wish I had better answers than that. That's as far as I've gotten in my journey. I keep every time I go down this path, then I end up saying disk shelf is good enough for now. I just wish it didn't have 24 bays. I know, that's That's my biggest problem. It has too many dry bays, and that's not really a problem, but I want to stick around 12. If I get beyond 12, which I'm only at 6 now, if I get beyond 12, then I have problems. Not problems, but I think that disk density is going to keep getting bigger, and rather than add, more disks, I want to get higher density disks. I think that's my plan. Because the prices keep coming down little by little. Let's see. Thank you. Jay Starcher. Hi, Tim. How's it going? Hacker Kid. You trying to figure out the disk array situation in the home lab NAS space? Yeah. I know it is tough. The disk array that I got, the DS4246, and there's the 43, has been pretty awesome. It's been pretty incredible. I got mine at way before the whole Chia mining took place. I got mine for like $250, and it was a local place here, which was odd. I go to buy something on eBay, and come to find out, it's like, do you want to pick it up? I'm like, heck yeah, I do. And it ended up being like 8 miles from my house, so it was pretty awesome. So I got pretty lucky there. But those disk shelves, the NetApp ones, are really awesome. If you can find them, they're great. And maybe the Chia hype is down now to where they've come back down, or there's somebody going to sell them somewhere. And if you can get them around $250, $300, that's a super good deal, especially now. But yeah, it's tough. I think everyone's kind of in this predicament right now where they want to hold a lot of data. They may or may not want compute, and they don't have a lot of options. And that's what I'm at right now. I want to hold a lot of data. I don't want compute with it. I just want a disk shelf. I want it to be dumb. And then, I don't put disks in it, high capacity disks. And I'm on the fence. Do I go with something with compute, with a CPU, motherboard, RAM, basically a whole entire server with a lot of drive bays, or do I stick with my disk shelf? So it's tough. I mean, you might be able to find deals on machines that have a lot of drive bays. That might be the other route, and then your NAS just becomes a full-on server. Yeah, it's tough. I'm still figuring it out. If I do figure it out, I'll definitely put something somewhere. I haven't decided yet, and I think no decision is still deciding. It's deciding not to change, but that's what I'm sticking with for now. Choo-choo, hi, what's up, Ilude? How's it going, man? Patico, hey, watched your Twitch bot video and it helped me a lot. Thanks. Hey, thank you. That was an early one. Yeah, glad it helped. Hopefully it works out okay. That one, yeah, I think anyways, not too much to say about that one. It obviously still works, and I've wired up every Twitch command I could do through their TMI.js, not theirs, but the open source version of that. So glad it helped. I've considered doing one that was PubSub based or webhook based, but that's a little more complicated and takes a little bit more infrastructure. Maybe once they get their PubSub fully working, I will, because then you don't have to stand up endpoints. So yeah, glad you liked it. Jay Starcher, have you ever messed around with Fission serverless framework? I have not. Fission, I assume that is. Serverless framework? No. The only thing I've done is some web functions. I think for Auth0 and I think for Amazon. No, I haven't done anything with a framework per se. I've just created some functions in the cloud and then called those functions, which is super handy, super nice. But I haven't done it. Sounds interesting. Sounds interesting for sure. I usually build up the infrastructure to where I'm like, okay, well, I have this node server running. I can call my functions there through an API or a REST call. And so haven't done too much of it. But once you get in the cloud, it's super awesome, because then you pay for what you use rather than a server running all the time. You pay per, function call, or however long the call runs, or how much data. The pricing is different. But yeah, sounds super awesome. Chicano, there he is. Was thinking of getting the UniFi Flex mini switch, but was wondering if anyone had any clue to have a UniFi controller to set up as a managed switch to assign VLANs. Yeah, so I have the Flex Mini. Funny you mentioned that, because you could see them. You could see them right here. Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, you can see them right here. They're pretty awesome. I ended up getting quite a few. Is this going to show any secrets? I don't think it is. It shows my MAC address, whatever. They're pretty awesome. I have them. They're pretty awesome. I said that 3 times. The reason why I got them was to just kind of like hide them behind devices. Like my TV. I have one in the TV. I actually have one in the garage. I have one behind another TV, to give me, VLANs, rather than running 4 cables there, I run one that's actually PoE'd. So they're all PoE powered from my switch. And then I get VLANs and I think that's layer 2. I'm not a network person, but I get I get VLANs out of it. Then I can separate the traffic out. Do you need a UniFi network controller to use? I think so. I don't quote me on that, but I think so, because you might be able to get in and somehow, yeah, I think you're better off to do that. You might be able to. If not, you're going to be using, what's the alternative? Is you're going to be using their CLI and still their DSL. So you would, let's go down that path. So let's say you didn't use their UI or their software. You would still SSH into the thing. You would use their CLI to configure it, which would be, for me, would be kind of hard. Maybe not. And then to update firmware and everything, you would have to run the commands, which isn't hard. You'd run I think it's UBNT upgrade and point it to some firmware, and maybe that might work. But if you're not running a controller, yeah, it might be kind of tough. I don't know the answer to that, but those are one of the products from them that I think is awesome. It's $29 for this 4-port or 5 PoE powered switch that gives you VLANs, and it's been super fun, super awesome, dude. Because before that, I was like, I don't want to run 3 network cables to my TV just to separate these out. They actually make some inline network adapters too, which are pretty awesome that you could do one-offs for. But anyways, I don't know the answer to that. I'm thinking yes, but you have to look it up. It's Sunday. I didn't see anything on until right now. Yeah. Takano, how's it going, man? GCX Life, hey, how's it going? Glad you're back online. Hopefully you like the tune I'm working on for you. Hey, thank you. Yeah, it was pretty good. So if you don't know JCX, she's in our Discord server. She makes music, and she made a tune, and it sounds really awesome. Anyways, note to self, piece of geek. Yeah, we need to make a music channel. I still remember, just haven't done it yet. But yeah, JCX, I'll listen to it some more. What I heard sounded super awesome. Jet Games, sub. Hey, dude, thank you so much. Tier 1, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Backbone. I'm loving story time with Techno Tim. Backbone. Hey, thanks. Yeah, sorry if I kind of was pretty animated and pretty excited, and hopefully not too negative, because a lot of learnings, but the sad part is there was an aha moment, but the aha moment was disable features that they have. The aha moment wasn't like, yeah, and then I configured this thing wrong, which did whatever, and that was my mistake, and here's why that didn't work, and here's the learnings from that. It wasn't it was still a good ending. But it wasn't anything that I could take away where I could learn and tell somebody next time, yeah, don't do that because I did that once before and here's what happened. I can, but the fix is disable features that they support, and that's not a fix. So yeah, anyways, I was pretty fired up, and that's kind of why I wanted to go live too, because I was like, well, I missed yesterday, and but also I was like, well, let's talk about it. Do as bards do. I like it. The new UI since beta gave me some headaches too. It keeps changing. So what you're looking at now is like a beta UI. I could show you. Could I show you my traffic insights? Does it show my IP address anywhere? Does it show anything? I'll show you. Come on. I trust you guys, but if this ends up going up on YouTube, I don't trust those YouTube people. I'm kidding. Yeah, I'll show you. Like they totally. I'll go for it. What the heck? If it shows up anywhere, I'll edit it before it goes to YouTube. They've changed quite a lot in the new UI. Like again, like the person who does their UI, their UX designer, is either loving their job or hating it, because every single release, things are totally changed. I'm like, either that person super loves it. Like I love this. Like I love their new insights for Wi-Fi. Client devices looks different, but I'm not going to show you that. UniFi devices, I've already kind of showed you that, but they keep changing things over and over and over. And so I'm like I said, I wonder if their UX, their designer's like, oh yes, let me design this whole screen and redo this whole screen, or they're like, what? We just changed it last week. But yeah, it's I think it's getting better. I do see that they're trying to be they're trying to give you better insights, and a lot of it is starting to be security focused too, which is pretty cool. You know, right now when there's intrusion attempts, they just appear in this notification section. It's like, yeah, that was nice. Thanks. What were they trying to do? You know, and they'll give you some generic error code. Now they actually show it on a timeline where it happened and what they were attempting to do for every hour, and it's like, it's getting awesome. But yeah, let's see. Home Lab New. Is there no music? I hope there was music. I think there was music at the beginning. Okay, I had to be quiet just to see if I could see the audio changing in the input. But yeah, hopefully there is. Mr. Jobot, does internal security scanning just do the port detection, or does it try finding other issues? So my understanding is it's doing port scanning across all your clients, which I have 90 some clients on my device, my network, 90-ish, I think. That's a lot. That's a lot for, you know, just me and my wife and 2 dogs. It is. But, you know, I like devices. But anyways, I like things with IP addresses. How about that? But I guess my understanding is it first does a network scan to see what is out there, and then it'll query those devices for open ports and see what ports are open. There might be more to that, but that's all I've seen, which is pretty handy, because you'll see devices where SSH is open. You'll see devices where, you know, HTTP or, you know, 80 or 443 is open. You're like, why is that open? That's kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know if it's doing any more than that. That would be cool if it did. To really interrogate those ports and, you know, try to supply some default passwords and see if you can get in. Obviously, they're not going to do that, I don't think. That would be cool. But I think you'd probably look for a different product for that if you were going to do that level of intrusion scanning or network scanning of your devices. But it's super awesome. But anyways, I had to turn some of that internal stuff off. Not like, anyways, I won't go. I already ranted about it. Cyborgium, I had an issue with geofiltering as well. As soon as I block traffic from a single country, doesn't matter which country, none of my port forwards work. Hey, yeah, that sounds like mine too. So I have that problem with Discord voice. If I block one country, doesn't matter what country it is, doesn't matter. I cannot get into Discord voice, audio or video. It just keeps saying disconnected. No one can hear me, and I can't hear anyone for whatever reason. And then now it's the combination of those 3 things that I disabled, where I can't even have a network. I can't even have a network. It's like I have all these islands of devices. Once I turn it on, like UniFi freaks out, and it's like, yeah, we know you have access points, and we know you have cameras, and we know you have a switch, but none of them can talk to each other anymore. We're just going to cut that out. So, yeah, it's super weird. I do wish that worked. I mean, country blocking for me isn't that big, but when I see a huge surge from a specific country, I'm like, the easiest thing for me to do, instead of blocking individual IPs, just block the country for a little bit and then turn it back off. But like I said, that type of security isn't the greatest anyways, because anyone trying to do anything like that or nefarious those requests aren't going to originate from those countries. They're going to use a VPN and do it from the inside. So it doesn't even really matter or help. Most of the time, too, those devices are just compromised systems, and they're doing work for someone else. And so blocking that country or that IP while it may help in the near term, isn't really a long-term solution. You need better intelligence than that. Nice lights. Hey, Kai, how's it going? Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey. Zino, horror story. It is totally a horror story. I should have prepared as if it was some spooky ghost story, and it was a horror story. I wasted 24 hours of my life of like, what is going on? Like, this cannot be right. Like, and thinking that I was just totally going to have to abandon my configuration. I was just like kicking myself in the butt. Like, why didn't I export my config at least once from a month ago, so that I could at least copy and paste MAC addresses for my DHCP reservations, or any of my VLAN configurations, or any of my network configs, at least the rule names, something to give me a hint of what to do. Because that's how it is with network firewalls. You just build them over time. It's not like you know every rule on day one. And it's not like, you even have a clear picture, on day 2 or day 3. It's unless you're migrating from another one. you build these up over time. You get new devices, you add new services, you do new things, and you realize things are blocked, and then you need to open them up. And the same goes for my firewall in between VLANs. I mean, that's more complicated than my WAN firewall. WAN firewall, super easy. Block everything, only allow a couple incoming ports. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but only allow a couple incoming ports for only a couple services, and only allow them to go to a certain VLAN. Super easy. It's my inter-VLAN ones that are super complicated. I mean, they're complicated. It's like, hey, this one device can communicate with these two devices on this other VLAN only on this port. Like, those rules are things, you put the service in place, you determine that it's blocked, and you make it work, and you forget you even did it. And you hope you give yourself a descriptive rule later on to go back to revisit to give you a hint of what that actually was. And you could look at the rules and inspect them. But for me, it's been that over a year. And if you think about, I went from a crazy flat network to a very segmented network with lots of new devices over the last year. I'd never be able to figure that out. I mean, I'd waste weeks trying to do that. So anyways, I need another backup solution for my UniFi stuff just to export my config and put it somewhere else just in case UniFi backups don't work. Because most of the time you can restore them. But as I saw that you might be able to restore them, but you might not be in a good state, not a good enough state to actually download your config. And the backups themselves are like encrypted, and they're just like a binary file that mean nothing, which they should do. So anyways, yeah. M. DeBomb, heyo, just wanted to share. I've been messing with home lab stuff, programming, etc. for the past couple of years. I didn't know if anything would come of it, but I have an interview for a tech position for software engineering, specifically with containers and virtual machine images. If nothing else, it shows me to keep working at it. Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. Hope it goes well. Awesome. Yeah, that's another success story of tinkering at home with home labs that might turn into a job. It's super fun, and I'm super excited for you. And you get lucky too, because yeah. Anyways, congratulations, M. DeBomb. Hope it goes well. Sigor, I read that one. Do as bards do. Here I was thinking it was DHCP lease times. Good one. Sounded similar to a network I had to build on my Sonic wall with UniFi Cloud Key Controller combo. As soon as I lengthened the lease times, the device not getting IP address started to. Oh yeah, that's interesting too. I almost went down that path of looking at DHCP lease times or time to lives on things, or I thought, for some reason, broadcasts were getting squashed or not being able to repeat properly across. I don't know. I was clueless. I'm not a network engineer. I could have used one to help me sit down and figure some of this out, but I just had to start from square one and just dig into it. Which I should have spent more time on Google than I did in the logs and restoring firmware. But that was my thing. I was just like, hey, I have good state. Yeah, yesterday was good state. Day before was good state. Last 2 months were good state. All these should work. Like, I could be backing up and maybe be 5 minutes late to the stream. No, try 24 hours. Sigor, I didn't realize it wasn't stable, so that would explain there isn't a lot of info for it. Yeah. So they did release it. It's on their latest branch. They haven't moved it to their stable branch. Once they do, and if you're on the stable branch and then you do a Helm upgrade or however you have it installed, you'll then end up getting it. I was on latest when I started, but then I switched to stable because I don't know. I mean, it's in the name, stable. Doesn't mean it's always going to be, but it's been vetted a little bit more. And I have a lot going on, and I'd rather not chase down rancher bugs in my environment if they could be fixed on a slower release. Half the reason why I stay on LTSs and stuff like that. Do as bards do. Firmware stability is key for sure. Yeah, for sure. And that's, that's what I kept thinking in my head. Like, maybe I'll just restore firmware. Maybe firmware is corrupted. Restore it. Force it to go to a same version. Just reflash it. I even put it in recovery mode, which was pretty interesting. This weird 90s looking UI that allowed me to update firmware to the same exact version. Still didn't help, but yeah, it's not fun. My lazy streaming, Techno Tim, could you guide me through static provisions on UniFi devices IP? Guide you through static provisions on UniFi devices IP. So there's a command you can run on devices if you can get into a shell it's like an inspect or announce. I forget what it's called. I think it's like an announce endpoint, and basically you tell it where to go to be adopted, and you basically send it back to your UDM Pro. I forget what it's called. It's like inspect or announce endpoint, and it's like your IP address. It's like HTTPS, your IP address, and then I think it's port 8080 with a query param on there. But it's all over. If you just Google force the adoption of an access point on UniFi, you'll find it. Because I've done that before too. One of my access points that I bought was brand new, flash it firmware. I couldn't adopt it, and I had to do that. You basically SSH into the device, give it a command, tell it where to go, where your UniFi device is, and it'll adopt. No problem. You basically force provision it. This was not working with that. Appreciate you sharing. Yeah, no problem. JCX rock solid until it wasn't. Yeah, totally story of my life. Rock solid. Yeah, it's great until it isn't anymore. That's kind of how it works. PC Geek, kind of like why I have separation of services and services like networking. Yeah, I have considered going back to like a dedicated firewall and just letting UniFi manage everything else. But I've kind of. I figured, well, it's here, and I didn't want another physical device. Like, remember, like this was all virtualized for me before, either an XG firewall or pfSense or Smoothwall or Untangle, you name it, going back and back and back. It's always been virtualized until I got this device. And so now if I was going to separate that out again, I probably wouldn't go virtual because all the woes of keeping it virtual. You reboot the device, you don't have network. All the things that I switched off virtual for my firewall. And then on top of it, I need to keep another device running 24/7. But hey, if it's stable, that might be for me. Mr. Jobot, have you ever looked into machine learning? I bought a cookbook called Neural Networks, Projects with Python. The math is melting my brain. I have a tiny bit. With ML, machine learning with Google's, I forget what it's called. Anyways, long story short, very little. I have looked into it, but it hurts my brain. The whole subject in general just kind of hurts my brain. Basically, in sampling too, kind of hurts my brain. Like you have to generate enough data to where you can actually train the model to recognize those types of things. Kind of hurts my brain. So very little. I've used some tools from Google, but that's about it. And ran through some really small, examples. Most of the stuff I did was already trained. Like I did some object detection stuff. That already had a trained model, so I didn't have to train it myself and basically say, here's 20 million pictures of a dog. This is a dog, and then it will learn that this is a dog through these 20 million pictures. Like those models were already trained for me in the thing that I did for object detection. But yeah, neural networks too it's pretty awesome. And I bet the math is hurting my brain. It's hurting my brain just thinking of it, just trying to recall the names of some of the products I use. But good luck on that. Let me know how it goes. Takano, my network is a mash of products and companies, OpenSense, MikroTik, Cisco, and TP-Link. Yeah, I hear you. Mine was there too. Mine was there too. I had a combination of pfSense, Cisco switch, all different kinds of individual dumb switches, some smart switches. I was there too. And truth be told, that's kind of why I moved to something that was a little more integrated, whether it be UniFi, Meraki, or something else. That's kind of what I was trying to get away from is trying to manage everything individually. Then I'm basically buying into an ecosystem, which they could come back to haunt me. Probably come back to haunt me in about 2 years when they deprecate everything. Then you just have paperweights. And so that's the risk you run when you buy into ecosystems, is that eventually the products in those ecosystems will get phased out, if not the whole entire ecosystem. I kind of doubt that, but the products in there could be deprecated. Because they'll upgrade the software piece that will forever continue to evolve, but then devices might get left behind because they're so old. So that's the risk I run. So it's this balancing act of get rid of it before before they become paperweights. Techno, I learned about not using public IP spaces as your network IP space, also preferring OpenSense much more. Yeah, I remember you asking that. I think you had a 10.11 or 10.11 dot something. You basically were using a public IP internally. I think you thought it was internal. Yeah, how did that go? I guess it would kind of be okay, I think, unless your DNS had to resolve something or get routed to that public IP, then it would route to your internal IP, I think. Sounds crazy and confusing, and that hurts my brain trying to think about it. Sundays, I try not to rack my brain so much. That's usually a Saturday thing. No, I had to log in network and destroy it. Yeah, I like it. Sim Buildings, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. JCX Life made it so when there's a power outage, APC UPSD shuts down the power-hungry VMs like folding at home, but I don't want to drain the batteries with stuff like that. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. That's kind of what I'm going for too. I haven't done that piece of it yet. So I've done the shutdown successfully. I haven't done the power backup, but the power backup is going to be pretty interesting too. I think my shell script that's slowly grown to wake all devices now has to be able to query, at least for me, NUT server, to know that we're back on line power. So, but yeah, it's exactly what I'm going for with my UPSs too. If we go to power and the battery gets to about 50%, which is pretty fast on my server rack, shut her down, shut most things down. Actually shut down everything. And you'll see here in a little bit in my tour how I've kind of separated things. I've physically separated things out too, so I can run a minimal network if things happen. Or power goes out for quite some time, or devices go down, or whatever. Obviously, I didn't have a contingency plan for my whole entire firewall and switch going down like I had the last day or two. Well, about 24 hours, but maybe at some point I will, because I got some critical stuff running, so it kind of stinks. Jet Games, SSH with QM commands. Oh, back to your button. All right. From a bat file setup with my Stream Deck. In the meantime, I get a Raspberry Pi to do SSH with shell scripts and with the switch. Awesome. So going back to I shut down VMs with buttons. So you're using a Stream Deck, a batch file, the SSH is in, then runs QM commands on your Proxmox server. I like it. So you have buttons just like shut down this VM, shut her down. I like it on your Stream Deck. I like it. Yeah, maybe I could find a use for my Stream Deck. I was saying the other day, like, I have about 5 buttons I use. And then I have folders upon folders of buttons I don't use. But maybe I can make some more folders to shut machines down. There are 2 machines every now and then I just need to shut down or reboot. So that would be super handy. Kai, currently trying to set up my blog with Grav. As folks at Izio switched to it, and it looks great and easier to use than Ghost. Also trying maybe to make my own self-hosted start page dashboard. Nice. I don't know Grav. I do know Ghost. Ghost is the one I always say I want to move to from WordPress because it's a little more modern stack. It's built on Node.js. It's not PHP, all the reasons why you wouldn't use WordPress, and a little more modern stack for me mostly, and because it's new and shiny. But I haven't heard of Grav, so now Grav is a replacement for Ghost, which is a replacement for WordPress. Ooh, this is bleeding edge. I like it. I got to look into it. Takano, my database login. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, usually every now and then we see a pasted password from Takano, and we have to decide a couple things. 1, is it really his password? And 2, how good is it? Security-wise, how good is it? I think the first time he ever did it, it was real. And after that, he kind of tries to throw us off. Speaking of WordPress, if you run cPanel servers that are now release a WordPress Toolkit Deluxe for free for all licensed users. I like it. Yeah, cPanel servers, nice. I didn't know that. Don't hack me, please. Takano, yeah. Jet Games, Monday at 6 a.m. Still haven't slept and have work at 12 p.m. Ooh-wee. That's some hours right there. If I stay up past 4 or 3 or 4, I don't know where the crazy sets in. I think it's somewhere around 4 o'clock where I'm like, I've been up way too long. I feel way crazy right now. I need to go to sleep. But man, 6 a.m. That's pretty late, especially having to work then at 12. you're at the point where it's almost like, should you stay up? The answer is no. The answer is no. Never pull an all-nighter. Even if it's a couple hours to like let your brain just like not process anything is good. Manny, how's it going? Manny01. Geisterkind, hello from New Zealand. Only recently found you on your YouTube channel. Thank you for all the wonderful videos. Thank you. Appreciate it. You convinced me to install Proximox. Oh, I'm sorry. And I've been working through creating a K3S cluster. I'm really sorry. With Rancher, I'm really, really sorry. Very large learning curve, still ironing out the configuration. Awesome. Well, hey, those are things I've done before. So if you need some help or pointers, let me know. Most of it is just kind of plowing through it. Every now and then you'll get some odd errors. But if you need help on where to look, then I can definitely help for sure. Silencio de Piano. Hello, Tim. Have you ever had this error while trying to set up an NFS volume? Mount failed. Exit status 32? Oh, no. The only things I can think of with NFS volumes when mounting it that I've had go wrong, one, username and password. That should be pretty obvious. I doubt that's an exit status 32. The other one that I've had is the NFS version. Needs to match sometimes. I don't know. TrueNAS, I had to move to NFS 4. I wanted to do 3 for a couple of things, and then some of my Proximox is cool with NFS 4. Some other things aren't, so I'm kind of in this weird, I don't know, weird mismatch right now of NFS versions, but could be a version thing. I'd have to look at the code. Or that status code, but might be worth looking into. Make sure your make sure your NFS versions are compatible. I'll say that they don't always have to match, but they have to be compatible, depending on the system that you're using and how they've implemented NFS, the client side. Cyborg game, I feel yeah. PC Geek, I have an EMC one, disk shelf that is. I have a 4-bay ASUS store. Oh, nice. Yeah, they're kind of under the radar. Most people go Synology if they're going to buy a NAS or something else. And if you build a NAS, then it's, Wild West. It could be anything from TrueNAS to Unraid to whatever. And then ASUS store is kind of like this in between, under the radar one. I've been looking at them. They're pretty interesting. And the one that I was looking at had a low powered Xeon in there, only quad core, not even hyper-threaded, which was interesting. And it's a 12 disk. It's kind of spendy, but the alternative to building something like that is buying something else to build, or buying a bare bones one from Supermicro. Very, very limited options to get 12 disks on something on a newer platform. So yeah, interesting. Thank you so much for making videos. I learned a lot. I get your name wrong every time. Abdurham. No problem at all. Hopefully they're okay. Takano went to Best Buy yesterday to ask the Geek Squad protection on my phone, and they basically told me, oh yeah, you pay $200 and you get a new phone. That's the warranty. Okay, all right. I like it. Oh yeah, you pay $200 and you get a new phone. That's the warranty. All right. Sometimes you got to watch out on those warranties and stuff like that. A lot of times, I don't know. I rarely get warranties on some things. I have them on some things, but for devices, I normally don't, unless it's, complete replacement and it's a super expensive device. I mean, you argue iPhones are that, but even then, they have a discount you pay or a partial pay of something ahead of time, and they'll only do it so many times, and they don't cover complete loss. So I don't know. I rarely do. I guess I should say I never do it. Insurance policies on phones, only because most of the time they have a deductible. Like I was saying, like an iPhone one, it's I don't know, so much money. I forget how much it is because I never really done it, but then they have a deductible of $100, and I'm like, well, if I break the screen, that's $100. So now I got to pay exactly what I was going to pay to replace the screen anyway. And so on and so forth. So I don't know. But $200, if it covers total loss and that's the life of the device that you have it, maybe, because I keep my devices for a long time. Maybe. JCX, I ended up going HPE with 12X LFF, large form factor base. I wouldn't have picked up a HPE as a starter rack mount, that's for sure. Yeah. Porius Loris. Hey Tim, just saw your video on setting up dual boot and separate drives, and I had a kind of but not really short question for you. All right. JCX, I never thought 12 would ever be too little. Yeah, I didn't. I think 12 is the sweet spot for me. 24 is too much. 6 is not enough because that's where I'm at now. But I think 12 is the sweet spot for me. And most of the time you can get those in 2Us. That's another reason why it's a sweet spot for me. My disk shelf is 24 discs over 3U. But if I went 12 discs, I could get down to 2U. And it's not like I'm really trying to consolidate, but I'm just trying to do the math in my head between a disk shelf, how much power is it using versus running a whole entire server, how much power would that be using, even if it's a low power, Xeon in there, small core count and whatnot. But yeah, shame that Chia mining ruins drives. Yeah, it does. It trashes them. Gitu, hello everyone. How's it going? Takano also ended up ordering two 10 by 100 megabit PoE splitters off AliExpress. One micro USB, one for a Pi 3B, and one for my Hue bridge. Nice. Now to wait for shipping. Estimate says November 5th, but people report shipping times of 5 months. Yeah, I hear that about ordering things from overseas. AliExpress being probably faster of most of them. It's interesting. Yeah. GCX, having issues with my internet, I think keeps buffering. Yeah, maybe. It could be that, or it could be the stream encoding. But yeah, hopefully you have at least 5 or 6 megabit. You can download the stream because that's what I upload as. I didn't break the internet, I promise. I didn't. It must be the gremlins. I agree. Takano, exact same use case here. Just want a switch that can be powered via PoE and forgotten about. Yeah, that's mine too. That's exactly it. Wanted VLAN support, and it was a bonus for me that it could be powered via PoE. Because I would have gotten them even if they wouldn't have. That was just kind of a bonus. I was like, that actually convinced me to buy a better PoE switch. So they know what they're doing. They have so many PoE devices. You can get PoE light panels now from them that are just security lights. It's like, I don't know if I'd waste a network. Waste is a strong word. I don't know if I would use, a gigabit PoE switch just to power a light. I mean, maybe if you're an enterprise and that's what you have, because those are all going to be on battery backup. Maybe if it's a couple, yeah, maybe you would. But man, they're going all out on PoE. I love it. Let's see, Takano, PC Geek, that's what I assumed, but didn't see the answers regarding it. PC Geek, you just gain more functionality if you use the controller, but you don't need the controller running all the time. You can run it on Windows, configure it, and shut it down. Once it's configured, good to go. Yeah, absolutely. And I used to, when I first bought my access point, my very first UniFi access point, that's how I ran it. I ran the network controller. I mean, this was very early. I was just like, oh, this is the software I use to configure it. Cool. Start it up. Find the device. Provision it, update firmware, shut it down. And then I realized, whoa, this is a whole entire network controller. I can run this all the time. Can I run it in Docker? Oh yeah, I can. That's where it started. But yeah, for sure. And I have friends who did that too, who bought the access point because it was like, these are really great. And they're like, how do I access it? What's the web page? I'm like, oh yeah, install this and go to localhost, yada, 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 or, launch the icon. But yeah, for sure. Porous Lois recently made some upgrades to my PC, including a new motherboard, MOBO, love it. Used to use the acronym all the time. I haven't used it in a while. Memory, CPU, and M.2 SSD. After installing the M.2 SSD, it was showing up in my BIOS. But then when I tried to install Ubuntu from a flash drive, it wasn't showing up on the list of drives. When I checked my BIOS after, the M.2 wasn't showing up anymore. Oh gosh, do I have any ideas? Ooh, Let me look at this again. After installing the M.2, it was showing up in my BIOS, but then when I tried to install Ubuntu from the flash drive, it wasn't showing up on the listed drives. When I checked the BIOS after, the M.2 wasn't showing up anymore. No, that's super interesting. You got me. I don't know. I mean, things I would check, I would go in the BIOS or UEFI, check to make sure that it shows up there. You're saying that it does. But it wasn't showing up anymore. If it's not showing up anymore, like it shows up sometimes or not anymore, like if it's at that level, the UEFI or at the BIOS level where it's just not appearing, either something's wrong with the drive or something's wrong with the actual M.2 slot that it's plugged in. I mean, you could try to take it back out, wiggle it around, push it back in, try a different M.2 slot if you have one, even the slower version of one if you have one. Those are things I would try. But if it only shows up sometimes, that's not good because it means driver board, which kind of stinks. So, but yeah, that's a tough one to track down. But that's what I would go after. I wouldn't go any further than the BIOS or UEFI and looking in there to make sure that they do show up consistently all the time. Geisterkind, that's what I'm going. Takano, yes, you would need a controller. I'm a network engineer by trade, but I couldn't find a way to manage it without a controller. There you go. All right, sounds good. I may as well just run a Docker container once I get it back up and running the VM and decide to corrupt itself. Yeah. JCX, the stream would lag while he's replying to my comment. Oh, I apologize. Missed what you said because apparently I'm having difficulties receiving regular video quality now. Oh, that means no transcoding options either. I'm gonna kick my router. I don't remember the thing that I answered, but I'll try to see if I recall it. Shino reminds me of Microsoft changing setting screen 10 times in a year while others are 20 years old. Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, setting screen has been changing quite a bit. They did it quite a bit. Changes. They made quite a bit of changes to settings over the course of Windows 10 and Windows 8. They haven't done everything yet. You can still get to the old control panel, which I still go to the old control panel. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. Not for everything, but there are two things I go to the old control panel for. Absolutely, every time. One, network settings. I will not use their new network settings tool. Oh, I do. I do sometimes. I shouldn't say never. But I avoid it at all costs. The other one is time synchronization to your time server. Because I don't even know if you can find that in the new settings view. So I'm always just, I have a button. I have it right here to the control panel just for those two things. Everything else I can kind of figure out. I just search, but oof. Yeah, and maybe it's a whole like you moved my cheese, but for me it's like you moved my cheese, but then you didn't give me new cheese or tell me where the cheese was or even produce the cheese to where I could get the cheese. I don't know, this is getting weird. But you just can't get to those two, at least the sync with the time server easily. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did it and I'm just still doing it the old way. It looks like that Wi-Fi analyzer app. Oh yeah, Wi-Fi Man. Yeah, they did totally integrate Wi-Fi Man. They did that in a couple releases ago on UniFi. It's actually pretty cool because you can not only test your Wi-Fi to a specific access point to your UDM Pro, but you can actually do point-to-point too, which is super awesome for testing. You have an iPad or an Android device on one side, you have a PC, Android device, whatever on the other side. You can do point-to-point network testing, and it's pretty awesome. And it saves all of that in the UniFi controller, which is cool. Cool for diagnosing things. Like, I've only like it's a great demo, right? It's a great demo. Like, hey, look what I can do. But then I never use it anymore. I assume one day I'll have to figure it out. But it's pretty cool because then you can test, do network throughput testing rather than just going out to the internet to test, what we all do. Go to, whatever. fast.com and check out the internet speeds, and you're testing two things really at the same time, which most of the time it's good. But if you want to test between your UDM and another device or two devices point to point, you can. Super awesome. But haven't used it all that much. I'm going to go kick my router. Go kick it. Yeah. Any cool plugins for OpenSense I should look into? Trying to explore what it can do. It's been so long since I used OpenSense. I hopped on that for a while, and then I ended up, to be honest, went back to PFSense. I can't remember why. Do as Bard dudes. Network ACLs can be an absolute nightmare, especially on non-Meraki Cisco devices. Yeah, it's I don't know if it was an ACL, but I could only imagine. Like, how would you even know where to look? At least for me, it still baffles me that is a combination of those things where it happened. Manny, that's weird. On my UDM Pro, I have ISP turned on, bunch of firewall rules, forwarded ports, and it's working fine, at least for now. Yeah, like I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's a certain firmware version. I'm on 1.10 something, and then if it's a combination of my switch too, because I have a USG UniFi Switch Pro Gen 2 PoE 24 ports, like the longest name ever. I have one of those, and so the symptoms initially were that after a reboot, it acted like it was a brand new switch that couldn't be adopted, as if I stole the switch from another network and put it on my network, and it was thinking that it was assigned to a different network. I don't know. It was almost like, I don't know how it works, but it was almost like they're looking for a GUID, and like this UDM Pro GUID doesn't match what you're telling me you are. And maybe it's a safety feature to say like, I'm not going to let you adopt me, but that's what was going on. I couldn't adopt anything, which if you can't adopt your switch, which is my backbone, I couldn't do anything. So yeah, and then I kind of got it working. I kind of kickstarted it and tricked it a few times, and to mostly working. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. Just got here. WGO. I don't know what WGO. I should know that. Do his bar, dude's finger crossed. Holds out, Manny. Laserman. Hey Tim, just getting home lab set up with K3S to replace my Docker environment. Your video has been big helps. Hey, thank you. Is there something like Watchtower to keep the pods up to date automatically? Laserman, I'm not aware of anything. There might be. But most of the time, so I'm speaking from like a software developer like experience. Most of the time, I kind of want my environment to be repeatable and defined rather than things upgrading automatically. So in Docker and home stuff, totally fine. But most of the time in my environment, I deploy custom code, and I deploy containers through Kubernetes using a Kubernetes manifested deployment, and I pin all of my versions to those images. I always do. It doesn't make it a little more painful because then it's, hey, I got this new thing. I need to go update it in a few places. But when I deploy code, that's all automatically and happens in CI/CD, and so it updates those manifests for me. So is there anything to do that? I'm not sure. I bet there is. If you do some Googling. But most of the time, it kind of goes. It's counterintuitive to what I think Kubernetes is trying to do. Not to say it's wrong, but most of the time people want an environment that's repeatable, and so latest yesterday doesn't mean the same as latest tomorrow. And so when you're so anyways, long story short, I can go into that for a while. Not wrong, just different. So I'm sure something exists, but I've never tracked that down. JCX, finally back. Only caught the tail end of what you're saying about my comment. I think I caught your gremlins. I hope not. I don't remember what I was saying though. So you have to remind me. Do as bards do. Thank you. From Manny, JCX Slice. When in doubt, grab another better computer. Yeah, there you go. Then you can show it a cat and it says, "This is the dog." Yeah. Oh, and it would probably happen. It's probably hard to determine the difference between a cat and a dog. I think most like image processing places have figured it out. Amazon, Google, Apple. If you search through your photos and say dog or cat, it's probably going to show you mostly dogs and mostly cats, but they might be mixed, and you might get some really odd results. It's always funny searching through. So I use iPhotos before that, I use Amazon Photos, and I've used other photo things before. And it's always interesting, like sometimes I'll go and search for things just to test their algorithm, test their training, and test their model. And if you have an iPhone or you have an Android phone, do it sometimes and search for some stuff. It's pretty interesting what you find. Like I was like trying to figure out like, what was I trying to find? It was either a receipt. No, it was a picture of a desk. And I was like, there's no way. I'm just going to type in desk and search through my photos for desk. Sure enough, photo of the desk came up. But then there were some other odd things in there too. And it's always interesting seeing like, why did it consider this a desk? Oh, it must have seen like a flat surface and these things kind of look like legs. So it must have thought it was a desk. Anyway, super, super interesting stuff. It's going to continue to improve and get better. Because a lot of times I search for photos and I can't find what I'm looking for. Like I want it to be a lot better than it is now. Don't get me wrong. It works pretty great, but I want to be like a receipt from Amazon. Cause not Amazon, bad example, but I take pictures of my receipts all the time just because I don't want to have to think about them or have a little piece of paper that I need to remember about at the end of the month, or ever. And so I wanted to get better at OCR too, and realizing that like, oh, this is a receipt, and here's the retailer you purchased from, and that's where I'm going. Abdurum, at least UniFi hardware ecosystem stays usable and doesn't brick like a Meraki when you aren't paying a subscription. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that Meraki was subscription based. Yeah, I just kind of threw that out there because I have some friends that are like gung-ho about Meraki too. And the UniFi and them kind of play in that same space, even though Cisco bought them. They kind of play in the same kind of small business, super fast moving software company trying to make hardware for networking. I think, which is why Cisco bought them. But yeah, I didn't know you have to have a subscription. Yeah, no, thank you. I might, well, with UniFi, your subscription is just buy your device, and it costs so much, you're basically paying for that subscription over the years. But yeah, so Abdram, hey Techno Tim and chat, forgot to greet y'all. How y'all doing? I hope you're doing amazing. I am. I'm so much better now that my network. I think I almost shed a tear. I'm not joking when my network started working again. I've been having a hard time setting up traffic error pages, but finally got them after 2-ish months of headache. Ooh, that's a long headache. And now I'm having a super hard time configuring Alert Manager for Prometheus and Docker. Also, containers keep changing Docker IPs. How do you have them statically assigned? Thanks a lot. So for Docker, yeah. So the internal networking for Docker. I mean, you don't want to have to depend on that IP. That's all internal networking for Docker. If you're hard coding IPs or depending on IPs for internal things, even for Kubernetes, then that's not a good pattern. You should depend on the name by service. And that's how you typically do it with Docker and even with Kubernetes, is that you define a service name and then internally, and it's internal networking and internal DNS, it will figure out where that service is living within your environment. So don't depend on IPs. Those internal IPs, I think I see them every now and then. Someone will post them. It's like 172 something for Docker. Don't depend on IPs. Go with service name for sure, because that will always be right, and let Docker be Docker. And you want your containers, at least in Kubernetes, probably in Docker too. Like that's an implementation detail that normally you don't have to think about. It's their way of keeping track of things internally. And you should use services and load balancers to keep track of that externally. That's the route I would go for sure. PC Geek, you can't use public IPs even internally for air gap testing and stuff on OpenSense because I think now it's a public and performs NAT. That's how it determines what a public and private interface, at least without some time of custom configuration. Interesting. Create custom bridge network for your Docker network and use that instead of default. And then you can refer to containers by hostname. Yeah, there you go. Internal, yep, for sure. Minimal network without the UniFi switch sounds like a good idea. Yeah, that one's tough. Because with most things I can do, with software I can solve most things. When it comes to hardware, that means I have to start duplicating things, and that's where it either gets expensive or overly complicated. I did have my SG200 Cisco switch sitting right underneath it. It's just parked there because I don't want a gap in my network, and I still haven't sold it. And I'm like, could I get this to work? And I started thinking about like going down this rabbit hole of getting that switch to work and configuring VLANs on it. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to spend the time on getting this to work. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that sounds like a fun project for another day, but not when my network is down. Yeah, for sure. JCX, we have our internet router put out a direct Wi-Fi network, which is just powered by UPS, just in case I break everything. Yeah, which no doubt annoys my partner to no end. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I always have I will not get rid of it. One of my WRT switches, all-in-ones, access point switch, just ready for days like yesterday, except for now I have VLANs in the mix, which would not even work. But I have that ready for some prolonged period of when, something like this would happen where I just need to get clients connected to actually use the internet. It was partially usable too. And I was parked right next to it and I was plugging. Strange thing is, like everything on the UDM, all those ports worked. It was communication between the switch and the UDM that didn't work or anywhere else really. I even tried a different uplink, different cable, removed SFP plus. Cable, the uplink, and went through gigabit, and same thing every time. But yeah, fortunately, I was able to plug directly into it while I was working. So I was just like this for I feel like 10 hours, just like trying things over and over and over in the previous grow room. Not a grow room, not really. Techno, I used 11x. Yeah. For pfSense, never had any issues since 11x IP space is legacy IP space from the DoD. With nothing on it, I decided to look into it before copying the whole 11x IP space onto OpenSense, and then decided to switch to 10x IP space to be safe. Took a good 5 hours to transfer all static IP leases, Proxmox, switch over, etc. Yeah, I've been there. That's tough. It's really tough switching IP schemes, especially if you have static devices, which you probably do. All your scopes, all your firewall rules. Yeah, I wish we were at a point where I could just create objects for this thing and just change it in one place and have most of that replicate throughout. Or have my stuff in a config file where I can do find all, replace, and redeploy a new config, like with Terraform or something like that. It'd be super awesome. Or even Ansible, deploy a config to my UniFi switch, where I could just do find all and replace 11 dot, find all and replace 11 dot with 10 dot. And, that would be a quick VS Code find all, replace, hit replace all, hopefully. And replace, the 100 instances and save it and then redeploy that config. That's what I need to be doing, but I'm not doing it yet. Oh yeah. Well, hey guys, I'm gonna scan through, look for direct mentions. I apologize. I do want to wrap it up. I did go on a little bit longer today than I was supposed to. Actually, I came on today when I wasn't even supposed to, but then on top of that, it's getting a little bit later, and I just want to be respectful of your time. Gonna look for direct mentions. Okay, JCX. It was about the music loving, my laptop kicking the. Oh yeah. No, I was saying it was great. I was saying I listened to it. It was awesome. It was very impressive. I definitely liked the beginning because I was like, whoa, it was like right. It was in my genre for sure. I was like, electronic, has some bass in it. It's a little bit slower, not as fast. No, super good, super good. But I'll listen to it. I know you said you're going to remaster some stuff, and you said I might not have the appropriate headphones, but these worked out pretty good. Sounded good. Emzabom, Geister kind. If you figure it out, DM me on my Discord. Yeah, awesome. Gonna look for direct mention. All right, Ticano. MySQL login is root and no password. Very secure website, only for testing through theirs. Rules in place, only allow local access. Oh man, Ticano. Oh, we got to work on your passwords because they were good. Now they're getting worse. You're still trolling me. I know you are. Well, hey guys, really appreciate you tuning in. I didn't announce anything, so I appreciate all of you guys coming out and joining the stream and listen to me rant about UniFi. It wasn't really all about just UniFi, but I figured I'd celebrate this victory as I've celebrated the struggle with you guys too. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. If you need to get a hold of me or whatever, want to chat more about stuff we're chatting about today, if your question didn't get answered, we have a Discord server. It's full of people. It's almost 5,000 people, I think. We're getting there. We're getting there slowly. Almost 5,000 people who enjoy technology. It's not all about me. It's mostly about tech. And it's awesome because I don't want it to be all about me. I just wanted to provide a place where people can come together and talk about things that they really can't talk to people about in person. It's pretty much the definite Discord. So anyways, I'd appreciate it if you join. Thank you, PC Geek. There's a link to it. More than happy to have you. Pretty low key, very low pings, and pretty relaxed, and a lot of stuff going on in there. I will be back next Saturday, not Sunday. I will be back, and hopefully I'll have something out for you very soon. This whole network thing put a damper on my last day and a half, but hopefully I'll have something out very soon. Have a great Saturday, great Monday if it's already Monday for you, and have a great week. And yeah, thanks so much for joining. Take care, folks, and be good to each other. Take care.